there's an element of actually, do they like you better than your opponent?
But that's the difficulty.
Or opponents.
Politics is just about getting someone into position and getting elected. It's a matter of whether people will vote for them. Nothing to do with their ability to lead. Nothing to do with their ability to be a statesman.
Well, we can do that. Anyway, so what else has been happening in the news today or this week that we should probably pull attention to? Do you ever watch Game of Thrones? You're not a Game of Thrones fan, are you?
No, but I'm aware it's been on the news, and we did talk about it in our last podcast.
Well, it was we did. I mean, I think it finished on last Monday, I believe it was. You know, the last one ever. I think they're going to be doing a prequel to it or something. But it's very interesting. It's the most popular show ever on TV. You know, look, at 15 million an episode. I mean, God, you know, it had to be good in some ways. But a lot of people want the story to be rewritten and reprogrammed because they didn't like the ending. I was quite satisfied with it, but there was a lot of criticism for that.
What's wrong with the ending?
Well, the thing is, the two protagonists in some ways, who was Daenerys, was killed off, and then there was Jon Snow, who went and lived in the wilderness because he had to. He became, and they were the two. So
there wasn't a fairy tale ending.
It wasn't a fairy tale ending for them. No, not at all. So it's gonna be interesting. But again, it all comes down to public opinion these days. You know, and I don't even go on Twitter anymore.
So people want the perfect ending.
Well, yeah, absolutely. But you go on things like Twitter, for example. People are so desperate to keep on posting something every day. They put rubbish out, and it comes back to bite them on the arse, like Danny Baker, like you say Jeremy Corbyn today, and things like this. It's almost like I've got to say something in 15 words, or in 124 characters, I think it is. What do I say? And they put it out there, and there's repercussions if people not misinterpret it, or it's how it's said.
If I was in a position of power, I would actually have my employees putting out stuff on Twitter. So it was their job to do it in a metered, logical, let's face it, self-serving manner.
To be honest, I think they do. I don't think they tweet themselves. You know,
maybe even Trump has people doing it for him.
He's got a huge social media team, and that team will get bigger leading up to the next election as well. So we'll go and see from there.
But so, what makes a good leader? We talked about politics and leadership. So what makes a good leader in your opinion? For instance, if someone comes to you and says, I'm CEO of a company and I want to learn how to be a better leader, and then, that would be right up your street, wouldn't it? Teach me to be a better leader. Well, it depends. It
depends what. It depends what environment you're in, for a start. But most importantly, and I think this is what we're seeing, is that leaders need to have a level of empathy that they've never really had in the past, or empathy towards their staff. And because the thing is, if you consider that I think there was a point where like 75% of the country was disengaged at work and they were unhappy and things like this. Most people used to get promoted to a C or to the C-suite, let's call it, because they showed about one or two classic signs of leadership, which is assertiveness and things like this, is what you need to have. And then the halo effect kicks in, and then you actually assume that they've got the other qualities as well. And then they get into that position of power. They don't know how to treat their staff. And all of a sudden the staff get disengaged, and then they don't perform.
Have you heard talking about this, you're right. I mean, Philip Bean, more and more stuff has been coming out on him. And, of course, none of it proven, let us stress. But apparently he's been... Most of his recent career has been focused on treating women like pieces of meat, thinking he can touch and pull whoever he wants, and then paying them off with NDAs. Yep. And let's face it, the same to be said for Donald Trump and his iconic words, grab them by the and in fact, Bill Clinton. In fact, most men in power, or the majority of men in power. Why is that? Because
I have a theory on that, actually.
it's because power is an aphrodisiac. That's what women want. And if you give a man, if you give anyone, remember what I said to you, the main predictor of whether someone will do something is if they can. And for men, it's power. Power attracts.
I think if you actually looked at certain data, and I suppose data is only good on a certain way you actually collect it. But if you actually look at so many of the people in power over the years, or in leadership, there also are, mostly associated with sexual deviancy in some ways. Now, is it because they have a bit too much testosterone that they produce, or whatever other reason there? But it seems like the two seem to go hand in hand.
Look at Tiger Woods.
Exactly. Although I went and played golf last week, and I wasn't anywhere near in his league. Actually, I couldn't even, I hadn't played in about 20 years, and I decided to.
If you look at the human behaviour, women love power because, of course, they want to have a powerful mate. It's in evolutionary terms as simple as that.
Yeah, that doesn't seem to be the case. That seems to be shifting now, though, doesn't it?
In what way?
Well, with the way that feminism is moving and things like this.
Nothing changes. You just get a few more powerful women, but the trouble with having more powerful women is you have IVF going quadrupling in the last 10 years because nobody wants powerful women. Men don't want powerful men because the balance is wrong. Because women need to look up to their man.
Well, yeah, but women are having the IVF, so they don't have to have a man.
Sorry?
They're going and having IVF on themselves.
No, that's a huge mistake. Women are having IVF because they can't find a man. Because when a woman hits her 40s, they have to compete with those women in their 20s. And even yesterday, there was this 65-year-old nightclub owner who proposed to an absolutely stunning 25-year-old who happened to be dancing in one of his clubs. Those are the women these 40-year-olds have to compete with, and they don't stand a chance.
Doesn't lead to an unhappy relationship when you got an age gap that wide.
Well, he'll die with a smile on his face, that's for sure. But
and she'll die, and she'll tell you don't have a lot of money in the bank account.
Well, it's an equal balance then. But there was this statistician, I think, who's worried that the massive increase in IVF is going to affect our fertility as a human race, because apparently 1 in 40 babies now born is born up with IVF. And he's saying that if you have fertility problems, then evolution is about weeding out the infertile. And if 1 in 40 are having children, it means that very soon more and more people are going to be infertile. And I think that's flawed, because I think the main rise in IVF is because you have these career women hitting their 40s who would have been perfectly fertile, but they can't. Because once you hit your 40s, you have a 1% chance of success in IVF. So if 1 in 40 births are with IVF, can you imagine the number of people having IVF? The amount of money being spent? It's $1 billion industry, make no mistake.
It is.
So going back to leaders, so what makes a successful leader? You said empathy.
Assertiveness, empathy.
And something that's attracted to the female population quite clearly.
No. It's... but the thing is, they've got to be. It's got to be someone who's got to. No, sorry, I'm going off what leadership is. They've got to be empathetic. They've got to be. They've got to be assertive. They've got to be open. I don't know. Well, there's a lot of other factors. There's a lot of other factors. It's not something.
So if someone says to you, "Please make me an effective leader because I've just been promoted to CEO."
I don't teach leadership. Leadership is not my. It's not my bag. I help make you marketable so you become a recognised authority, but I'm not there to. You got to demonstrate certain skills on your own. You got to be. You got to be. In some ways, you've got to be trusted by your peers around you, liked by your peers around you, to be able to connect with them.
Yes, okay.
Yes.
So if I was to summarise, because I've had people come to me who are stressed CEOs who can't do their jobs, they're panicking. Now, the reason is that that people who are panicking as leaders can't take responsibility because they're too anxious, and they also can't give responsibility. They want to do everything themselves. So the first thing as a leader is to understand that your job is to lead, and you don't have to know the nuts and bolts of everything going on underneath you. You need good advisors.
Well, actually, the one person said, I had a really good saying which said, actually, if you're a good CEO, your tray is always empty and it never has anything in it, because if people you've hired have done their jobs well enough, you don't have to deal with anything, and you're just there when something actually big really hits and a decision has to be made. They've got to be very quick and very certain in the decision-making process. You've got to have mental toughness, and including a high level of emotional intelligence.
Well,
because if
yes.
you are panicking and anxious, then you're out of your depth.
But you see, when you're a leader, your job changes. So your job, your main benefit to the company is to give leadership. In other words, to give direction to the company. The second thing is that you have to be able to cause fear, and you have to do that instantly. Now, sometimes you can do that with a hatchet man, so one of your number twos can be your hatchet man, but you must be able to discipline people. Secondly, you have to be liked, and so it's a very delicate balance. So in other words, you must be ruthlessly and scrupulously fair, because if you're not liked, you will be deposed, and that's how dictators get.
But you've also got to make difficult decisions as well. It's not going to be loved by everybody.
Yeah,
so
but the majority are going to have to like you.
Absolutely.
And in fact, even in tribes of monkeys, if a leader isn't liked, they will be deposed by less powerful monkeys clubbing together.
Absolutely.
So you have to be liked, you have to cause fear, and in other words, discipline, and you have to give leadership, and you have to know how to choose your number twos. In other words, you have to choose the experts. In other words, you must delegate to those underneath you.
Okay. Listen, I think we're going to leave it there. We've got a couple of minutes left, so I hope you enjoy your bank holiday Monday this weekend, or on Monday rather, and do something productive. And we will speak to you next week. Thank you very much.
Thanks for listening.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.